in the original 1941, it's like a family curse. And so they tried to emulate that a little bit here by having it be like the sins of the father being passed on.
Yeah.
And
I saw that.
And that's where I feel like the film just communicated that poorly. There was this thread of Blake's dad having anger issues and his son's trying to not to emulate those things. And obviously then the creature turns out to be his father, so it punctuates it. And
we all saw that coming. Nobody was surprised by that. But go ahead.
No. But then, of course, he becomes the monster. He becomes the father, and then the bleak climax kind of suggests maybe it's inevitable. So that's a very dark story. That's like a life under the sun. There's no way out of, like, you become your father. That's it. And so it does. It Romans 7's great. I thought of Romans 5:12, where it says, "Therefore, just as sin came into the world through one man, and death through sin, so death spread to all men because all sinned." And so, but here's my problem, which, and we might disagree a little bit. Here's my problem. Grady wasn't that bad.
Who's dad?
Yeah, like, he makes his kid. He makes his kid make his bed to military standards. What a monster! And then his kid wandered off in the woods where there may be a Wolfman killing people, and so his dad gives him a very authoritarian dressing down. But there was no belt, there was no beating. Not even spanking. Like the film does little to make me presume he's anything other than a traditional dad, maybe even a Christian dad. He's not a modern gentle parenting kind of guy, which, by the way, is a failed experiment that's ruined an undisciplined generation. But
hang on. Amen. Go ahead.
Right. So I was just thinking about Ephesians 4:26. It's like, in your anger, do not sin. Like, we see Grady has anger, right? But he doesn't push his kids down. He's like, there were times in my life where I did dumb things, and my dad had to use a loud voice to shock me, and he would grab me by the shoulders and he would talk to me like eye contact, face to face. It's like, that wasn't abuse. And I'm not even sure. Like, he gets a little extreme. Then the son gets extreme, right? When his daughter jumps up on the barriers. I don't know. To me, Grady in the opening scene, which, by the way, the opening scene with his son was one of the most tense and scary.
It was.
Like their encounter with the wolf was actually was cool.
And you don't ever see it really at all.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
Like, Grady's angry in that scene. His father's angry, but he doesn't sin. He rebukes his son. I even looked up the Wikipedia plot summary of this movie. It says, during a hunting trip, a young Blake Lovell and his stern father Grady spot a mysterious creature lurking in the forest. It's like, okay. Stern is not sin.
No.
And so
no.
And this is where I think the movie thought it communicated that the dad was bad, but it didn't in my book. Like it's like I'm supposed to infer it from a very soft authoritarian moment of being stern.
Let's be honest. Like, first of all, if the kid doesn't know what's real, then his dad comes off as a hard case, right? His dad comes off as you're a little intense, you're oppressive, whatever, not abusive.
Yeah.
But if you know what's going on, he's kind of moderate. In fact, it would be a far more interesting story if he was abusive out of his fear. That would be a more interesting and probably more realistic if it's that serious. If there is a monster that will eat your kid, you might beat your kid to get him to, not that you should, I'm saying that would be sin, but that might be a bit more realistic. It would certainly be the stakes would be higher now.
Yeah.
And now he hates his father. That's why he's never been back. He hasn't seen his dad in years. His dad disappeared and has died. And he's like, what are you going to do? He's declared dead. But why such distance if he was only stern? But if he was abusive, overreacting because of fear and maybe going crazy, how do you not go crazy fighting a monster? That would be I think the stakes would be higher to be more interesting as a story.
We hope you enjoyed this snack-sized taste of popcorn theology. Check out the full episode using the link in the description. Subscribe on YouTube for more content. Follow and interact on social media to share with others. And remember, you are not a mindless consumer.